Good evening, all. Welcome to True Expert Talk. And the topic for today is right nutrition for healthy living. As we all know that either we are working from home or working from office, our life revolves around the sedentary lifestyle. Improper posture, sitting for long hours, unhealthy eating, all these kinds are included. It was there earlier, but the problems have become more acute after the lockdown. If want to live well, it is very important to make the right choices, including the right nutrition. And to discuss this further, we have with us Dr. Aileen Candy and Professor Patanka. Dr. Aileen Candy, ma'am, is HOD at HN Reliance Hospital. She is a Joint Secretary of Dietetic Association and and is also a speaker at various platforms, has written many Indian and international papers and also reviews them. Also, we have our moderator, Professor Patankar, who was an ex-professor microbiology at St. GS and KM College. So welcome both of you, and over to you, sir. We can begin the session now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sanjana, for a wonderful introduction. And welcome, Dr. Aileen.
Thank you.
I think we are going to have a very nourishing kind of a dish for our behavioral changes when Dr. Aileen goes through important things. Dr. Aileen, I think what we eat every day, can I call it a nutrition, or there is a different definition for nutrition as such?
So, of course, whatever you eat, whatever goes into your system through your mouth is, something that you call nourishment. Whether you're eating right foods or you're eating the, foods that you would normally call it as, junk foods, which we normally say. That is all when we say is nutrition. So nutrition is nothing but something that you need to nourish yourself. What we talk about nutrition in terms of evidence-based nutrition science, that is nutrition that has proved to have a healthy benefit on your health. So certain aspects of nutrition, whether it is your, leafy vegetables, fruits, grains, whole wheat, fiber, gluten, no gluten, everything comes under the banner of nutrition. So we can call all these things as nutrition.
Okay, now I have a small question here. You used the term evidence-based nutrition, and also you explained that it is a proven thing. Why I'm asking you is, we see a lot of advertisements on TV, newspapers, and magazines, and they claim that this is the most nutritious thing, you should be eating this, you should be eating that. So should I blindly believe in that, or I should, discuss with a nutritionist like you or a dietitian like you and take a proper advice and then plan my nutrition as the slide is showing with balanced nutrition or something like that? How should I go about?
Dr. Chandrakant, you are so correct that why do we call something as called evidence-based nutrition is because we have been practicing nutrition since Ayurvedic times, and we all know that certain things are good for us. Okay, for an example of haldi, which we say curcumin is good for our health. Now it didn't take us to understand this aspects, and for our Vedas to understand this aspect is because we have been using curcumins for hundreds of years. Now, when I say evidence-based, is that why there was research done on haldi or curcumin, and they found out that curcumin is beneficial for various disorders, diseases, cancer, and so many other things. So when a study is done on a particular nutrient and a substance, and we get the right answer to it, that's when we call what we call as that evidence-based nutrition. And what we follow, what you rightly pinpointed out, that today our media is flooded with information.
Correct.
And what to understand, what not to understand, sometimes it's very confusing. For an example, egg all these years was treated as bad for cholesterol. You should not be having, people were separating egg white and egg yolk. And now one fine day, the research and evidence says that it is not the egg that is the culprit, but it is the other sources of your fat and cholesterol. So I agree that science is, doing a lot of progress in research, and we are finding out new things. But how does a consumer understand whether that thing is correct or it is wrong? Now, have you all must have heard of this statement, that one person's food is the other person's poison.
Right.
Okay, so what may be good for you may not be good for another person. Okay, so
Okay.
similarly, it is not that one size fits all. Everybody does not wear the same clothing and the same this thing. It will change according to the body type. It will change upon your goal. Now I will take an example of a 21-year-old boy who has a goal to be muscular. Now his diet will be different from a same 21-year-old boy whose goal is to lose weight. So obviously both of them will have a different goal. So when your goals are different, your requirements are different, your ages are different, one size will not fit all. A pregnant woman, a lactating woman, a old woman, a young child, a adolescent kid, everybody will require a different nutrient pattern. The
Right.
best way of getting this information is to go to an authentic, qualified nutritionist. Now, why am I saying qualified? Is because there are a lot of people who claim themselves to be nutritionists. The trainers who have lost weight, they say that they are nutritionists. The people, a housewife who has lost weight, they also call themselves, and they do like this small certified courses, and they call. So that is not the right way to go. Go to a qualified nutritionist. Most hospitals will have a qualified nutritionist. You can meet them and take an advice from them.
Yeah, that's very important, because I'll share with you something very quickly. I had done a lot of programs on nutrition, but that doesn't make me a qualified nutritionist. So tomorrow, if I start propagating myself as a qualified nutritionist, people should be wary of people like me if we do activities like that. Very simple. But I think when you said that the age and special physiologic conditions will decide specific diets as per the requirement, but one thing could be common amongst them, that all of them could have for their specific diet a balanced diet or a balanced nutrition. So could you please elaborate a little bit on what do you actually mean by the balanced nutrition?
Dr. Chandrakant, one thing that you rightly pointed out, that we have a lot of nutrition education that is happening, and everybody does not come for a webinar like this to listen to nutrition education. They have to go to resources and find out, and they have to know, because even in our schools and colleges, we do not learn much about balanced nutrition.
Very true.
And everybody will not go to a dietitian or to a nutritionist all the time. So certain amount of knowledge, basic knowledge for balanced nutrition is very, very essential. And this basic knowledge comes from, your little bit of knowledge of nutrition. What do I mean by balanced nutrition? Now, in nutrition, we have micronutrients. Now, what are macronutrients? Macronutrients are nutrients that you require in a larger amount, okay, in your body. So you will require carbohydrates, you require proteins, you require fats, okay. And micronutrients are nutrients that you require in smaller amount. Those will come under your vitamins and minerals. So when we add all these things in a balanced proportion based on a recommended dietary allowances, we will get a balanced nutrition. So whether it is a small baby or a geriatric older person, all of them require a balance of macro and micronutrients in the amount that is right for their age and their physiological requirements.
Okay, great. But just a small query here, if you don't mind. I think we understand when you say proteins or fats very easily. But carbohydrate becomes more like a chemical definition. So what are the common carbohydrate containing foods that we eat?
Okay. As you rightly said that we have carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Now, sorry about that. It's just, okay. So in carbohydrates, there are what we eat as grains. Okay.
Mhm.
All your grainy foods, your anaj, what we call it, is carbohydrate.
Okay.
So whether it is your chapati, rice, your rotis, your poha, upma, idli, dosa, your millets,
Okay.
oats, all these things, they come under carbohydrates. So all grains, they come under carbohydrates.
Oh, great.
Besides grains, there is also starchy foods which are carbohydrates. Okay. So in starchy foods, you have your potato, you have carrot, you have beetroot, you have yam. All these are starchy foods. They also are very high in carbohydrates. Then
Sure.
there is your fruits. Okay, so
Mhm.
banana, papaya, anything that's sweet on your tongue is carbohydrates. You also have sugars and honey and jaggery. They are also carbohydrates.
Okay, great.
When it comes to proteins, all your dairy products, your milk products, your eggs and non-vegetarian foods are proteins. And for fats, your ghee, butter, oil, they are all, even your nuts and oil seeds have got higher amount of fat than carbohydrates. So these are all carbohydrate rich foods.
Great. But I understand that when you say carbohydrate food, it doesn't mean that it is 100% carbohydrate.
Correct.
Depending upon the kind of the grain I am eating, like
Correct.
the gehu, wheat will be having some more protein that rice probably.
Yes.
So it's a mix of everything.
Yes.
Like you said, the fruits. No, fruits will be carbohydrates plus a lot of other things, like which will come under the category, if I'm not mistaken, under the micronutrients, vitamins and all those things. A
Correct.
little line on micronutrients, ma'am.
Yes. So when you are eating macronutrients, the micronutrients get tagged along with it. So when I say that fruits are rich in carbohydrates because it has fructose sugar, they also have rich in fiber.
Yeah.
It will be more richer in vitamin compared to an avocado, which is more rich in vitamin E. Okay, so each and every nutrient from the macros have got a micronutrients attached to it. So like
Okay.
whole grains will have higher amount of thiamine, that is your B vitamins, compared to your refined grains. So compared to your maida, they will have lesser amount of B vitamins.
Okay.
Similarly, whether it is your dairy foods. Now in dairy, low fat dairy, you will not have saturated fats, but you'll have certain amount of vitamin D, you'll have calcium, you'll have phosphorus. So every macronutrients also have micronutrients that come along with it. So if you choose your macros properly, you will automatically take care of your micros.
Oh, great, great. But what are the various factors that can affect nutrition of an individual? Even if I go for balanced diet, there must be something that will be affecting.
Yes. So as I said, that everybody's nutrition will not be the same because they have various aspects to it. One of the most important aspect what we inherit from our parents is genetics. So
Okay.
we in fact I am also a specialist in nutrigenomics and nutrigenetics, where we look at certain foods, how they affect your genes, and certain genes which affect the food. It works both the ways. Okay, so if you are genetically predisposed to say diabetes, you will probably land up getting diabetes compared to somebody who's not genetically predisposed. Similarly, whether it is your hemoglobin, folic acid, even a small thing like coffee, so some people are metabolizers of coffee. They are fast metabolizers, means they can have coffee and they can have a good night's sleep because coffee does not affect them. But certain genetic changes in certain people they can get affected by a coffee. They will not get sleep in the night. So that is how genes are different for different people. Similarly for folic acid or so many. Now genetics itself is a long big science. But besides genes, there is your leave genes alone, because when people come to me and they tell me because of my genes I am obese, so consider that you have not inherited the OB gene. There's a gene called OB gene. If you have not inherited the OB gene and you have not taken care of your lifestyle, if you are awake till late night and you're eating you're snacking on chips, snacking on processed foods, snacking on an ice cream in the middle of the night, and this becomes a regular habit, okay, and that becomes your life, and then you are stressed, you want to eat extra pieces of chocolates, you don't want to eat your food, home food, you want to order in from outside all the time, and that becomes your way of life. That also affects your nutrition factors. Of course, the food composition, the choices that you make, and how much we eat. Sometimes we go for buffets, we just go on eating, without thinking randomly whether we are actually full, or whether it is physiological hunger or just hunger because it's the clock has said that now it is time to eat. So there are so many factors, not forgetting age, because as you grow older, if your activity decreases, so when your activity decreases, obviously you require lesser amount of food, and if you continue to eat larger amount of foods just as you did when you were younger, that foods will take on to your body system, and you will start storing fat in your body, and that's when you lead to things like fatty liver and other cardiac issues.
Okay, great. So these are various factors. But one thing I realized in my own life, that I've been regularly going to my office and like that. My wife had been working, but a number of homemakers also, right? And general impression is that कि ये stress वगैरह जो रहता है ना, that is only for people who work, the corporate world, the industry people, businessmen. लेकिन homemakers are cool, they have no stress, something like that, which I don't subscribe to personally. I think stress is a common factor, whether you are working someplace or you are a businessman or you are a homemaker.
Yeah.
Is there any relation between nutrition and stress?
Yeah, definitely. See, what happens is, it's not that I subscribe to, nor I'm a psychologist or a counselor where stress is related, but I come across a lot of patients who, are stressed. And secondly, what you said is absolutely right. Stress doesn't need to be related to any kind of activity that you do, or how busy or how not busy you are. Stress is a different factor, but I have seen that when people are stressed, they try to reach out to comforting foods, which is in a sense comforting for them. See, when we are sick, we have certain comforting foods like say a soup or a khichdi, okay? But when you're stressed, your comforting foods become the foods that are actually forbidden for you. It works positively if you do it for a very short period of time to alleviate stress. But if it becomes a kind of a regular habit that, when you are stressed, you can gulp in an entire bar of chocolate, or when you're stressed, you're working too much, you want to eat excessively, you feel good about yourself, those are the cues which you should take. Otherwise, it will lead to other metabolic conditions.
Because we have been hearing the term Satvika for in our age-old traditions. If we have the Satvika, it would reflect into a stress-free life, right, ma'am? Anyway, moving ahead, apart from this removing stress in life, having a Satvika, a balanced diet as you suggested, a proper proportion of macro and micronutrients. What is the impact of lifestyle? Whether nutrition affects the lifestyle or lifestyle affects the nutrition?
It is both ways actually. I'll tell you, I have these days a lot of clients or patients coming to me who are, I'll give you an example, who are BPO workers or who are journalists, and they have to work till late night. The problem is that when they are overworking or working in an extended period of time, one is the availability of food. So these centers usually make available chips, wafers, easy to store foods, foods that are packaged, foods that are highly processed, highly sugared, because these foods they are sold faster, they are less perishable, and they are easy to make. Because there were certain organizations and institutes who came to me and they told me, Eileen, I want you to work out a good menu for our cafeterias and let it be healthy. And we tried to do that. And when we changed the cafeteria menus to healthy menus, people started refusing it. And they said, no, please get our vada pav back and please get our samosa back. We want those things back.
Oh, okay.
A very important factor, and it has to do with your education and what you want to eat, because there are certain set of people who say that doctor, I want to do a diet, but at 12 o'clock or at midnight when I'm just taking my tea or coffee break from my office, I don't get anything else except a packet of chips. Then what do I do? So I make I give them ideas of how they can eat, how they can carry their food, which is easy to carry, easy to eat, easy to make. All those ideas come from I give them those kind of tips, so they are happy that way. But I'll tell you, all the people who are working in such situations don't have the privilege to come and meet people, so they find it very difficult. I would say, give an advice for them is that those kind of people should look at our own traditional foods that we have been making at home. Say, or you carry fruits, you carry nuts, you carry a sukha khakra or a kurmura or a makhana. You carry you can carry tetra packs of your milk or buttermilk. So it's not that there are no things available. It is just that you got to start thinking in the right manner. So when you say whether lifestyle affects nutrition or nutrition affects lifestyle, both affect each other. It's on how you think and look at it.
And what is the role of exercise?
I know that sedentary lifestyle has become a part of most of us, our lives, I would say, because we are sitting in front of the computer all the time. Now being online, people are even 16 and 18 hours online. So it becomes so difficult to exercise. The one tip I tell people is at least get up every, 1 or 2 hours and take a 10-minute walk in your house. If you're talking on the phone, just walk around. But of course, those are very small things that you can do. But I would say that dedicatedly, even if you say give half an hour or 20 minutes of a brisk walk or a cardio, or something that you can do at home. You don't need to go to the gym all the time. If you can go to the gym, nothing like it. But as I said, all are not privileged to have a gym facility. You should make do of the best resources that you have, and try to exercise, do some kind of exercises. If you can't do too much, start with the yoga, because that's the easiest, simplest, and you can look at many YouTubes and do. It's all on what you want to do and when you want to do. If you say you do not have time, I would say adjust and make a time, and do it in such a way that it is a sustainable thing and that you can do something regularly. If you do it one day and don't do it another 5 days, then it doesn't become sustainable. So make a plan for yourself, make a routine for yourself and get it done. It will be done.
Yeah, but I have just a word of caution before we move forward. The word of caution is the way we began, that if I want to make my nutrition proper, I have to meet a qualified nutritionist like Dr. Aileen. Same way,
that's important.
I'm going to adapt some exercises in my life, changing my life with exercises. I must definitely take consultation from a qualified physiotherapist. It's a very important thing here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you.
Because I have people doing exercises, and then they have injuries because they have not done it in the proper fashion.
Very, very.
So we do not prescribe an exercise. At the most, if a person comes to me, I tell them to walk, because for me, walking is one of the safest exercise that they can do. Yoga they can do, which this thing. But again, if you are not a yoga expert, you may just train the wrong place. So you have to do it with conscience and the right person. That's true.
Right. Now, when you say about nutrition, again, it comes back to how much calories I earn. Can you a little bit elaborate on what is the calorie?
This is very important, because today there are lots of apps, available, which will show you how much of calories you are consuming. And people then come to me with that app and they say, doctor, now you read out this app to me because I cannot understand what has to be done. So then, although, these apps they make things life a little easy, simple, monitor it, that's good. I don't discourage them from using these apps because at least they're doing something. But you should be able to know how to interpret it. Now, everybody requires a set of calories that they need to consume. So, suppose you're a person, with 50 kgs weight, okay, and you are a sedentary activity, and you just doing normal exercise or half an hour walk, you would need around 30 calories per kg. So you multiply your 50 by 30 and you will get approximately how much calories. Now, if you really want to know how much calories you want to eat, there is on the website of the ICMR or the National Institute of Nutrition, there is, according to your age, according to your even children's age, adolescent age, according to the age, they decide how much of calories you require for your age. So that will give you a more accurate information. But overall, most people would require around 1800 to 2000 calories. If you want to lose weight, then you have to have lesser amount of calories, which is around 500 calories lesser. So if you minus 500 calories from your actual requirement, you will be in a deficit. So that's how we calculate the calories in and calories out.
Yeah, great. So calorie is basically a measurement of energy that we get from the food.
Yes.
But I have one more question on the calories, madam. I've been hearing, like you said, I should have around 1800 or 2000 calories input per day. If I get these calories from my cold drinks and sodas and all pizzas and other things, I'm gathering the calories.
That's
Are
why
they useful calories?
That's why you have to connect that slide to my first slide. Calories from a balanced diet.
Oh, calories that grow are useful to us, not the empty calories.
That's why, yeah. And
Oh, great.
as I said, we do have different types of diets, okay?
Yeah.
But see, it is whichever diet you want to follow, which is an extreme diet, it should not have a negative impact on your health. So whether it is a keto diet, paleo diet, vegetarian diet, vegan diet, low carb diet, no sugar diet, raw diet, Mediterranean diet, all diets have a different goal. And I said each person has a different goal. So if I'll give an example of a vegan, that person doesn't want to have dairy or any non-vegetarian foods in their diet. And we respect that, that, okay, they do not want to have. So like a vegan diet will be deficient in calcium. So then we give a supplement of calcium to those people so that at least the calcium is taken care of. Similarly, if somebody wants to follow a keto diet, we do not, you do not randomly follow it without a medical guideline. So medical nutrition therapist is very important to explain to you how to go about with these diets.
But necessarily diet is not starving yourself. You need to have food proper.
Diet means to eat, but it means to eat right.
Yeah, it's not starving.
Yeah,
many people go, अरे आज एक खाना बंद कर दिया है मैंने, रात का खाना बिल्कुल नहीं खाता मैं. That would be a wrong thing to do.
Yes, it is the wrong thing to do. You have to, diet in an ideal way.
Yes. Yes, please.
Of things that have a negative impact on your body. Okay, be low on salt, sugar, and anything that is highly refined or processed. So highly refined sugary drinks, processed drinks, or things that have got too many preservatives inside it, it has to be restricted and avoided as much as possible. And because your body also has a limited capacity to excrete all these things, and that's when you require a high amount of antioxidants. Okay, so there is a way to do these kind of diets.
I hear a lot of things about fiber. You also mentioned there are fiber in the grains, and there is omega fatty acids. Something on these 2 points, ma'am?
Yes. So when we talk about nutrients, both macro and micronutrients, I said when you choose your carbohydrates, you generally also get fiber along with it. So compared to a roti, I'll give you an example of a roti. Now you will say you will take 30 grams of atta to make one chapati. Okay. Similarly, you will take 30 grams of atta to make 2 slices or 1 slice of bread. Okay.
Correct.
Now, when you take wheat atta to make 1 slice of bread, the bread will not be so much soft compared to a chapati if you take wheat atta. So then, in those cases, they use maida to make bread. So what happens? It is the same wheat, but when you use maida to make bread, maida is nothing but refined wheat. Okay, highly refined wheat. So they remove all the fiber from it. And the fiber is very important for your gastrointestinal tract, important for your prebiotics. It is important for your constipation. It is important for so many other benefits it has got. So it is important to choose the high fiber carbohydrates in your diet. The other thing also is that you spoke about omega-3 fatty acids. Now, in omega-3 fatty acids, they are good fats basically. They are, you get it from vegetarian sources as well as fish sources. Okay, for vegetarians they can have walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds. These will give you some amount of omega-3 fatty acids. But fish oils like salmon or arctic fish oil or various krill fish oils, they give you omega-3 fatty acids. If your diet has enough amount of fish, walnuts, flax seeds, you don't need a supplement. But if it is lacking, then you need a supplement.
And how much fiber should be there every day?
So usually for an adult, 30 to 35 grams of fiber is more than enough. But as the calories increase of a person, they require higher amount of fiber.
So there will be roll of some supplements some places.
Yes, you do get fiber supplements. Yes,
yeah.
You get fiber supplements also. So if you are not getting adequate, fiber from your dietary sources, then you have to rely on supplements. But we choose diet as a first means of, getting a proper discipline.
So what would be your take-home messages very quickly?
Okay, so take-home points would be, that whatever you do, do it in a balanced fashion. Have portion control. Don't overeat. Eat what is right for your age, especially the young growing children. Inculcate the right eating habits right from an early age without force, but with education. Because force will not change anything, but education will. So try to inculcate and teach children around what is the nutrients that are present. For that, you have to also be a little educated and eat from the family pot. Eat and honor food. You will respect food accordingly. So these are some of the messages which go beyond the scope of what we spoke today, but there are lots of things we can talk about with food, and maybe we will have a longer session some other time and we'll speak more about food.
Yeah, I really thank you that in such a short span of time you have covered such a vast topic. You rightly said that nutrition is such a big topic that you can give 7 days continuous sessions actually, morning to evening on nutrition, right? Thank you very much. It was a wonderful thing. And Sanjana, you have done some kind of a survey or something?
Yes, sir. So
can you share that so that Dr. Eileen can also comment on what are your findings?
Yeah, so basically, just a second. So we are still going on with the survey, but whatever data which we have collected is on the lifestyle which people generally follow. It includes the amount of sleep they get or the diet they follow. And the thing which we have concluded, we had scored it out of 40. And no one was able to actually reach that number. Everyone had reached half of the number because no one is taking adequate sleep or taking proper nutrition. And that was the basic goal of the survey. Ma'am, we also have few questions.
Sure.
I'll just read out one by one. You can help us. Our first question is, how can a vegetarian person can maintain their nutrition and immunity?
Immunity, both are quite interrelated. One is that immunity is not something that you get suddenly overnight. Okay, you are born with certain kind of innate immunity already. The other aspect is that immunity cells in your body require a certain amount of nutrients to be developed. Now, these nutrients come from micronutrients, proteins, enzymes, and so many other aspects. So it is better that you eat a healthy, balanced diet. Your immunity will take care of itself. And for a vegetarian, see that you have adequate protein. So if you are 60 kgs of weight, you divide the protein amount in 3 parts, that is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And at least have 10 to 15 grams of proteins per meal, so that you are able to eat your proteins throughout the day.
Now, the next question is, how can a person gain weight who is genetically very thin?
Yeah, so thinness is genetic, but to gain weight, you don't need fat. You need a little bit of exercise and you need muscle mass to grow through your protein sources. So based on your weight, so if you're very thin and you are say 45 kgs or 40 kgs of weight, you would need to take at least 1.5 grams of proteins along with resistant exercises, so that when there is a building of your muscle, the body builds by itself. So you may be lean, but you may have good muscle mass, which is more important than having a fat mass.
Okay. Ma'am, another question which we have is how to manage body pain with nutrition.
Okay, so first of all, you have to identify the reason why the body pain is. Okay, once you identify the reason, you can rectify it. But if you do not know the reason, it becomes difficult to just point out what is the reason of the body pain. Now, most of these pains are due to, maybe if it is nutritional, it could be a deficiency like vitamin D, calcium, phosphorus, or it could be even B12, which is again a micronutrient that is very deficient in most people. Now, everybody does not go to do a vitamin D test or a B12 test. All I would say is that if you feel that you require a vitamin D or B12, ask your doctor to give a prescription to you, and you see to it that at least those nutrients are being taken care of.
So, ma'am, the question which we have is what are the resistant exercise which we can start with for weight gain?
Yeah, so you have qualified physical trainers who will teach you various kind of physical training exercises for your biceps, for your legs, and for various areas of your body. But remember one thing, whenever you are exercising as a nutritionist, you have to, I would advise that before training and after training, have the right nutrition. Pre-training, you should have a carbohydrate and a protein combination, a complex carbohydrate and a protein combination. And post-training, you should have a protein so that whatever you exercise, your body is able to assimilate it.
I have a question. May I?
Yes.
You mentioned about complex carbohydrate.
Yes.
What is that complex? I thought carbohydrates are all starch. So simple for me to understand.
So when we add the fiber to the carbohydrates, it becomes complex carbohydrates.
Okay.
Because when you eat highly refined foods, you are making the carbohydrates simple. Okay, like for example, the wheat, when you have a lapsi, it has got higher fiber compared to having a maida which has got lower fiber. Similarly, all your polished rice are less complex compared to your unpolished rice.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ma'am, we have one more question. So, is protein powder? So protein powder, does it help to gain weight? So it is mostly like it is necessary to gain weight?
No. I'm not talking about protein powders. I'm talking of proteins. Okay. Whether you take a protein from whatever sources, you take it from your diet, you take it from a external supplement, but supplements do not, substitute a diet. So I will give you an example. You are a vegetarian and you want to build up your body. Okay. You're a man of 60 kgs, but you want to build muscles. So if you are a person of 60 kgs and doing resistant exercise and you want to grow those big muscles, that's when you need at least 90 grams of proteins. Now, in your diet, how will you eat 90 grams of protein? So you'll have eggs, you'll have chicken, you'll have fish, you'll have pulses, you'll have dals, you'll have dairy, you'll have milk. But still, how much ever you eat all these things, you may not reach the 90 grams of proteins. Those are the candidates who will have to have some amount of external source of proteins, either form of protein powder or some other way of proteins to increase in order for them to reach that level of proteins. So it is not that you and if you are not doing an exercise, so in the other way around, if you are not doing an exercise and you are 60 kgs and you are able to get 50 to 60 grams of proteins from your diet by having milk, curd and dairy, then you don't need a protein powder. So it is very individualized as to who needs a protein powder.
Great. Absolutely great. Thank you again. Sanjana, over to you.
Yes. Ma'am, these were the questions from the audience. Apart from that, if we have any questions, as we circulate the video, we might get, and then we'll forward it to you also to have your
Yeah,
opinion
my
on it.
number is available. My email ID is available with you. If anybody wants, please do share it with them. I will be very happy to answer questions even after the program.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The session was absolutely insightful, and thank you so much, sir, for conducting it so well with both of
You're
you.
welcome.
I hope people have learned so much about nutrition, and they will, of course, apply it in your day-to-day life to improve their lifestyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kanchan.
Thank you.
To all the audience who are present here, on behalf of entire True Healthy, I would like to thank all of you. As you know that True Healthy, our tagline runs with true nutrition for healthy living, right nutrition for healthy living, and we strongly believe in it. Our main goal is to fulfill the unmet medical needs which we all are encountering. Few of our products which I would like to display to understand more about these needs. One, as we discussed in our session, that fiber plays a very important role in our diet, and however we are not able to get it completely. So we have fenugreek fiber with us, which actually help us to get 25% of your daily fiber requirement and helps it in weight management and blood sugar management. As ma'am rightly said and started her session with, we also have flaxseed oil, that is omega-3, which will help you in cardiac management, plus it will enhance your skin and hair. Then we have curcumin for healthy joints and ashwagandha to manage stress in our day-to-day life. As we all are continuously working on our laptops and PC, we are encountering a lot of eye strain, and to unload that eye strain, we have with us astaxanthin, and to enhance your beauty and to make it more radiant, we have with us glutathione. I would really like all our audience to go to our website www.truehealthy.com to have a look on our company and all our products and enjoy them. Thank you so much.